Hello, it's Andy Graham of Hobo Traveler. I'm in Orland, Indiana. It's, what month is this? April 2014. I never can remember the date or the day. I think today's Saturday. My mother's trying to run out of the kitchen. What?
It's 2019.
2014.
19.
What do you mean it's 2019? It's not 2019.
Yes, it is.
The year's 2019?
2014, but it's the 19th of April.
She's trying to correct me. Hey! Okay, I'm with my mother, who refuses to be on the camera but wants to correct me, even though it's the 19th of April and it's 2014. Okay, I have a really important question to answer, and it's it's such a good one that I better make sure I word it correctly. Oh, okay. I'm in my parents' house. My father died, and I came home from Africa. I've been to 90 countries, and I've traveled non-stop for over 16 plus years. I'll leave June 1st for, I think, Vicabamba, Ecuador. The question is, and I'll try to pull it up here on email. The question is basically, where are some quaint and affordable cities in Europe to go to? I also want to say I'm going to wear some shirts. I have a whole bunch of shirts that I bring home. I consider shirts one of the best souvenirs possible that you can buy. Oh, I better hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to get this thing set up better. Okay, I'm back. Jackie C asked a very question. I'm making some coffee over here with one of these real expensive instant coffee machines. I think they call it, it's got to be the trendiest coffee machine in the United States. I'm traveling Europe with my husband, and we were wondering what are some of the quaint and affordable towns to see in Europe. What are some tips for the European Union travel? Are there any safety tips or places in the European Union that you would consider dangerous? So, hey, noisy thing. Okay, Jackie. Pretty big question. I think there's 42 countries in Africa, and it says, but I realize I'm traveling Europe with my husband. I hope you mean in the future, or you're not traveling right now. Okay, this is a really difficult question, but a really, how would you say, this is a question that I'm challenged to answer, because I know that if I'm going to empathize with you, I really need to try to do it. Okay, I sit and I quiz my mother what quaint was, because what the word quaint means many things to different people, but I think what my mother wanted to say is that it was a small town, small place that's not commercial, okay? And the word quaint, means, a small town to a person from New York City could be, a place of 100,000, while I'm in a town of 400 people. A small town is a place less than 5,000 people. Okay, in the United States, but what you're asking is a little bit too big a question in a way, because there's 42 countries in Europe, and it's also to do with the type of transport. If you're traveling, if you don't tell me what type of transport, what I would really like you to do is ask the question more specifically and tell me what type of transport. Are you going to be on the train? Are you going to be just planes? Or are you going to be driving a rental car? Or are you going to take a train and then rent a car? But truthfully, to travel Europe is, to me, very, very torturous. I recommend, is that you get the Euro Pass, and then you get it for a month, and you get a continuous one. That doesn't mean 15 stops. I mean continuous. I want you to be able to get on and off that train as desired. Otherwise, it's going to be hell. Okay, but you can also rent a car. We did find, I'm planning with Phil to travel Europe, and you can rent a car. We found we could rent a car for $600 a month, which would be the absolute most convenient way to travel Europe in a way, because the trains are not that convenient. I mean, you get off the train, then you got to get transport between the train and the hotel, and so you spend a lot of time, you waste a lot of time in transfer. But in a way, what's nice about a car, you can just stop and think it over, right? And I think maybe with GPS now, you might be able to go straight to the hotel. Now you got to be careful. It's driving in foreign countries is not what I always recommend. Okay, here the actual definition, if I pull it up on the thing, says attractively unusual or old-fashioned. Okay, well, my first impression was, well, all of Europe is quaint, okay, because you have buildings. I remember being in Belgium, and I was trying to ask I was in an older house, and they had built the shower and the toilet onto the back of the. You had to walk through the kitchen to go to the shower and the toilet. I have to say toilet in Europe. They don't like the word restroom. You don't go in there and rest. So I've learned to say the word toilet, but I know we don't say that in America. But the building there was 3 floors, and it was part of an apartment, and everything about it. There were real tall ceilings, really long windows, and they probably had fireplaces in this thing, 200 years ago or 100 years ago. And they didn't have a toilet inside, so they actually had to build one on the outside. So a lot of this stuff is really old-fashioned, and we think America is really much more modern in a lot of ways than Europe, and they built things in America. The comparable thing is if you see a brick house in a neighborhood, that means that it could be a 100-year-old house. So I mean, most of the houses now are wood framed houses, and they didn't, but the only things that lasted for a long time were brick buildings. So in America, any small town is going to have like a city square, and it's going to have this town hall thing, and it's going to be kind of quaint. Okay, so to me, first of all, I have been in some quaint places in Europe, many places that were quaint, but they're, when you start talking to you, what can I say? There's 42 countries, and I was in Tarifa, Spain, which is just at the strait of before you go down into Morocco, and I actually could see the boats that were going across to Tangier, and I would say Tarifa was very quaint. And then I looked on the map, and it's less than 20,000 people. They had windsurfing and stuff, but when I was I've been in the middle of Spain. I mean, not Spain. When I was in, one of the best places I ever went was Tuttlingen, Germany. It had a little hotel that it was like 20 euros, and this lady gave us breakfast in the morning. I mean, she had ham, granola with yogurt on top of it. It was absolutely wonderful. Tuttlingen. Okay, so my friend was living in Sittingen, and I stopped in and see her. I'll never forget her. I went to say, oh, I'm going to walk over to the grocery store. She goes, Andy, it's after 6 o'clock at night. And I said, yeah. She goes, this is Europe. This is small town Germany. Everything closes at 6 o'clock. In America, we say we roll up. In Orland, they roll up the sidewalks at 6 o'clock at night. But when I was in the Baltic states, which is Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania, there was many. I actually traveled in some really nice small places, but they're very difficult to go to. And I didn't have a Europass at the time, and I was actually taking the bus, because the bus is a lot cheaper than the train. I mean, everybody always says train, but the train is really expensive. But they had some kind of rule that you could only go on the bus between countries. You couldn't actually, there wasn't very many in country. There's all these Mickey Mouse rules in Europe. So really the best way to get is the continuous train thing. But the way to find these things is to study, to think historically. An old-fashioned city was built close to the ocean because, when the beginning of time, the highest and best form of transportation was boats. So it's either on a river or it was on a ocean. Okay, now the problem here is anything close to the ocean in Europe is highly populated now. So, you might get on a river that's entering the ocean, and you could find if I would say you go 100 miles inland on a riverway, and you're going to find a very old city. Okay, now anything that's under 20,000 in Europe or under 50,000 usually is pretty quaint. Okay, now I was trying to get on Google Maps to try to figure out how to help you to find these things. And I mean, Google Maps, they came out with a new Google Maps, and it's really horrible. But the only thing I do know is you could, on Google Maps, if that's the only thing you got, you can have it some kind of extension that says show me the Wikipedia thing. Then it's going to take you a long time. But what I have is a program called Encarta, and I carry it still, and I've purchased it a couple times. I think it's like $40. You can get it at Best Buys or something like that. Home Depot usually. Encarta is a Microsoft encyclopedia. And what's really nice about this program is I can put my mouse over. Let me try to do this. I can put my mouse over. So let me try to. I'll put the camera. I'm gonna stop and I'll put the camera on the computer so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I hope this shows up. So up here is Spain. Down here is Morocco, and over here is a dynamic session thing. And so there's this little thing over on the right that you press on, and I use this a lot. And what I do is I mouse over on the thing and it tells me the longitude, latitude. It says Tarifa, populated place 1 to 19,999. Now, as you can see, but if you look at this map, it also shows elevations and stuff. And right through here is a mountain range, right? And over here is flat. So, when you're trying to find a quaint place, what you got to do is find places that really are not populated, right? And then you might find them like over here. You can see, I think there's a river right here. River. Can you see that river? Yeah, a river. And so on that river, inland, is a little town with under 19,000. It's on the river. And so it's probably been there for, thousands of years, right? Even when the Moors and Spain was conquered by the Muslims 2 or 3 times and went between Christianity and thing. But then you can discover the town and then try to find places that are on waterways, okay? And then when you find things on waterways and rivers, and then they're inland a little bit, they're going to be, and smaller, they're going to be pretty quaint. And then they naturally, like if you come to a lot of these places, they built castles on all the points, right? So here, down here on the point of Spain, there's going to be castles, right? There's castles all over Europe. And one way you might do it is, let me stop this again. Okay, therefore, there's thousands of quaint cities, and I mean, if you want an old and ancient and small city, non-commercial city. I will say that if it's in the guidebook, you're screwed. Okay. I remember being with Astrid Honer in Guatemala, very famous name. She wanted to go to completely. She wanted to be in a very typical Guatemala city, and so I found this city that was on the map and not very far from. Actually, we were in Lago Atelan at the time, and we just was going to go another hour towards the coast. And she goes, "It's not in the guidebook." And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, well, how can we go there? It's not in the guidebook. And she like needed the map. She needed the hotel list. And I said, well, just go there and find a hotel and live. And she goes, but it's not in the guidebook. And I said, if you want typical, non-commercial, non-touristy place, it can't be in the guidebook. I was like going, but she was going outside her safety zone, right? She felt safe when it was in the Lonely Planet. Okay, if you get a Lonely Planet, Rough Guides, maybe Let's Go or Footprints for Africa, for Europe, inside there they'll have itineraries, and these would be often you can have an itinerary kind of castles or quaint places. So really go to the library and look up Lonely Planet. I know this has it, and they have itineraries, and then it'll show you the itinerary for Spain on if you got a 4-day trip, if you got an 8-day trip, if you got a month trip, and they'll show you how to travel. And they're kind of setting up these kinds of trips for you. You can't really do them on the internet because these guys only make commissions with high expensive hotels and expensive things. So they basically steer you the wrong way. While Lonely Planet made money by selling the book. Okay, so that's one way. But what you got to do is come up with a protocol or strategy. The strategy I would go is less than, say, 50,000 on some natural transportation like a river or ocean, and then maybe having a castle. If it has the castle, it's less than 50,000, and it's got not really nailed on the guidebook. You know, is a place you got to go. It's going to be pretty quaint. Okay, so you set up a strategy, then you got to figure it out. So if you're taking the train, then it's going to have to be on the train trip route, or if you're taking a car, then you can just wander around. Affordable hotels, instantly, the minute that you're not in the guidebook, you're probably going to save 50% in Europe. I was actually in, let's see, what country was I in? I was in Lithuania. I was in Marijampolė. I was staying in a 20 euro a night hotel. In Tarifa, I stayed in an 11 euro hotel. And I was in Estonia. I think I stayed in a $6 a night hotel. So once you get off the path, the hotel prices go radically down. When I was in Estonia, it was funny. Inside the city of what is it? Well, Estonia. There's this capital city there. The hostels were 22 euros a night, but you could go right outside the city and get one for $6 a private room. So sometimes the hostels are not the cheapest, but you know they're in the highly concentrated tourist areas, right? But you got to set up a strategy. But if you want to ask the question again and you want to tell me the 2 or 3 countries you're going to travel, Jackie, and all the countries you're going to travel, and how much time, and the type of transportation. See, I need to know the type of transportation, I need to know the amount of time, and I need to know the well, what like if you're going to say affordable hotel, what is affordable to you? To me, affordable is $10 a night. In Europe, you know, $20 a night is affordable, but a lot of people think that's $50 a night. So $50 a night is real easy. That's a walk in the park. But you know, you'll have people say, "Oh, I had to spend $150 a night in Europe." They didn't have to, but they did. Okay, but I need to know the type of transportation. I need to know the length of time, and I need to know the what you consider affordable. And then I want to know really where you're from. If you're from New York City, Quaint's going to be small. You know, Quaint could be a very big city to you. If you're in, you know, it's all about things. But ask the question again, and I'll try to get even more specific, and I can actually choose some cities for you for the country. You give me one country and ask me to find Quaint, and I'll zero in and find what I would consider the best option for Quaint, and I'll show you how you connect with Wikipedia to double check it. But it's going to take a little work, but the best way to travel is just to wander around for 4 months in Europe. But you have to come up with a budget, then realize that you're going to jump hotel to hotel. You don't jump city to city. You're always sitting in one place looking for the next hotel, and then when you got a properly priced hotel, properly sized city, you jump. Okay, Andy Graham trying to ask your question. Very good question. And 42 countries in Europe, 50 states in the United States. You know, you think about it, if you ask me a quaint city in the United States, I know Indiana pretty good. I could tell you one state a lot better than I could tell you, you know, some other place. But let's narrow it down. Thank you.